Hello everyone, it's Laurie again, here with my little owl companions for another video. I decided to go ahead and do Ethony's 31 Days of Tarot in January, and since I'm only getting started now, and it's I think the 12th of January, or the 11th, I decided to kind of just skip back quickly, hit just a couple of ones that I missed, that I didn't want to miss. So I'm going to jump back in time to day 2 and do my top 5 tarot decks from 2016. So counting down from number 5. Number 5 is the English Magic Tarot. Now I only got this, I think, right before Christmas, so I haven't had it for very long yet. I haven't had a ton of lots and lots of chances to work with it, but I love it so far. The reason I purchased it mainly was because I saw Marcus Katz doing a very long video review of it, I think back in maybe November or October. And, you know, there's nothing like hearing an English magician reviewing a deck about English magic to kind of inspire you and really feel like you want to know the nitty-gritty of everything. I'm a big fan of British history. I'm a history buff. My family comes from England, mostly from the north of England, Durham County, but all over. I mean, I've got people from all over England. Anyway, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, all of them. Anyway, so it was kind of especially interesting to me to get, and I got it also because my son's at university studying history. He wants to be a history professor, and this is just totally right up his street. And I got it. I had it on the shelf for a really long time before I decided to crack it open, and oh my gosh, I cracked it open and I did an interview with this. I did Johanna Robson's deck interview with it, and it was like finding a long lost family. Truly it was. I mean, I've been using this. I only do readings for myself with this deck. The artwork is not artwork that would appeal to me in any way for any reason. It's very, as everyone has said, it's very graphic novel, kind of comic book style, which is fine. It's just not my thing. The minors have gigantic different color borders, which I don't normally love, although the majors are borderless, which I do love. But nevertheless, and the colors are a bit gloomy, which isn't really me either. Oh my gosh, I love this deck. This deck talks to me like the way family members would talk to you. You know, sometimes they tell jokes, but sometimes they make fun of you, but only because you're on the inside, not because you're on the outside. And they only do it with love, not with cruelty. And so it's just really been the most fantastic deck for communicating, for kind of having almost, you know, a whole group of family to talk to or to ask questions of or whatever. And let's see, what are some of the interesting cards with this deck? The Empress, my gosh, I mean, she is fantastic. Look at her, she's amazing. Seven of Wands, Three of Coins, I believe this is Sir Isaac Newton. Oh, which reminds me, most of the symbolism, I mean, it is vaguely Rider-Waite based, but it's really important to look at the book, because a lot of times the authors took liberties, and in addition to putting in a lot of little fun things like runes and things written backwards, a lot of times they kind of imbued the card with their own particular meaning, which can be read intuitively once you've read the book and kind of get what they're going for. And I might be able to give you an example of that. Here's Death, a really fantastically awesome take on death. I really love this. Here's the Executioner. And the deck takes place right after the end of Oliver Cromwell's reign in Britain, when there wasn't a monarchy. They chopped off the head of Charles I, I think. Gosh. Oh, my son will correct me. And then they reinstated the monarchy. Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Charles I, and they reinstated it with Charles II. So here's the executioner who's done a lot of head chopping, right? And the hand of death is coming for him, which means none of us can escape death. That's just really fascinating. Oh, I love her. Look at the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is almost always one of my favorite cards in every deck. I also love the Star. That's kind of the me card. You know, when I shuffle it, I'm looking for me. But whenever Wheel of Fortune comes up in a reading, I love it because it's fate and it's karma. And karma is just, I feel like she's a friend. So I like seeing her portrayed like this. Oh, okay, so here's the Three of Cups, which is normally about, ooh, I should do this quickly so that I'm not taking forever, which is normally, you know, three ladies celebrating. And there are, if you can see, three ladies celebrating. There's a man, a painter in front who's painting. But actually, according to the book, if you get to take a look at this picture, you see that it's not just that the man is painting a portrait of three women, but that there are certain optical illusions spread throughout this card, so that what we can see is actually, and there were optical illusions in the sort of paintings that were happening at this time, like that painting at the court of Henry VIII with the men who, they've got those great big giant fur collars, but then if you look at the painting sideways, there's a skull across the bottom. Oh, I wonder if there's one like that on here. Do you know what painting I'm talking about? I don't remember who did it. My son would know that too. So we're actually maybe looking, instead of looking at a man painting, we're looking at a painting of a man painting three women, which the added then instruction in the deck, I'm sorry, in the card about this particular Three of Cups. See right here? Yes, it's joy, merriment, but also the need to look at the situation very carefully. If the card is reversed, perhaps you were looking on sadly at other people's happiness. This card just basically tells you, the author says, look again, look again. Things may not be what you seem, look again. So, this is a fun deck. As I said, I haven't had too much time to play with it yet, but it is special. Number 5. Number 4 is going to be the Tarot of the Sweet Twilight, which I started using in the autumn, particularly for doing readings. I'm doing a course, a certification course for tarot, and I've been doing a lot of student readings, and I just wanted a deck that would be very Rider-Waite based, but yet have kind of a little bit of a something else to it. And this is the deck. I adore everything about this deck. It's got borders. I don't mind. I tinted the edges, can you see? Blue. And I used this stamp pad, Memento, in Paris Dusk. That's what it looks like. You can see where I dragged the cards across. I think I may have done 2 full passes on each card in order to get them this color. And it's really good. It didn't come off, I mean, it didn't come off at all. It dried really quickly, didn't come off. It looks like in the camera it's a little bit lighter blue than it is in real life. In real life it's a tiny bit more navy, but whatever. So, yeah, Sweet Twilight. Oh, I love this deck. It's like, I don't know, Tim Burton, you know. Oh, it just meets Alice in Wonderland. It's kind of like darkly innocent, and I love that that's what it is, that there's a darkness, but there's an innocence about it. There's some other decks that I don't like at all, and that's fine, other people like them, that have the outward external appearance of innocence, but the content is quite dark, whereas I think this is almost the opposite. It has a bit of the external appearance of darkness, but the content is actually really light. And that's me. That's just my kind of thing. So that's number 4. Number 3 is The Raven's Prophecy. I read these books. My daughter read the books first, Maggie Stiefeiter, and she absolutely loved the books, my 18-year-old daughter. So then I read them, and when I saw this tarot deck, I had to get it. And then when I got it, I had to chop the orange borders off, which I did. And then I just used the boring old Marks-a-Lot to go all around. And that also dried really quickly. And yes, the backs are wonky. See how there's no orange on this side, but all three other sides have just a bit of orange. I don't even care because I'm only looking at the front of the cards anyway. And these cards are absolutely fantastic. Christine of Christine and Celeste YouTube channel talks about this deck being a tarot, you know, like a portmanteau when you put two words together to make another word, a tarot, because it can almost work as an oracle card, because it's, I mean, even though it's completely readable, Nine of Wands, look at that. Oh, yeah, it's completely readable from the Waite Smith sort of keywords and things like that. I mean, you can definitely get there. Six of Wands is the victorious, you know, person. But then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that 7? I was wondering if that's chakras. But then there's an unbelievable amount of intuitive reading that you can do with these. That oh my gosh, and the symbolism carries through, so that when you lay down, if you shuffle the deck and then you lay down a series, King of Wands, the Tower, Queen of Cups, you can just watch the way that the energy flows. You know, the King of Wands, and here we've got this very, very powerful man. I mean, he's got all the power. And when you're the person with all the power and all the passion and all this, you know, you're like the boss. You're like the godfather, right? This is like the godfather, the King of Wands. And then there's a tower moment where everything comes down around you. And then what's interesting is just then the Queen of Cups. And we see this moon with a raven feather in front of it. And I think, could we see anything more different that happens after that tower than this beautiful, receptive, kind of gentle, accepting, loving, to go from, you know, the Godfather to sort of Fräulein Maria here, if we were, you know, Maria von Trapp from The Sound of Music. So that's kind of what I think of. Anyway, so you can just really tell the story intuitively without even... Okay, so that was number 3. Counting down from 5. Number 2 is... the first deck I ever got. I only started reading tarot seriously in 2016. Although I'm a Reiki master and I've done a lot of different kinds of energy work and intuitive trainings and working with Akashic record readings, other kinds of readings. I use pendulums, I use a lot of things. But really only got into tarot seriously. This is my oldest tarot deck. It's the Albano Wait tarot deck. I did chop the borders just because the colors in this deck are just too fantastic to be constrained by borders. So I chopped the borders. And I love the Wheel of Fortune. Look at the Queen of Pentacles. Isn't the color like the color on this? It just isn't even coming through. The colors are stunning. My whole house is like these colors. This is what my whole house looks like. The walls, I've got a mandala on my wall in my dining room that was hand painted by my daughter. I might take a picture of that. It is like, I love being surrounded by color. So I love this deck. I love to use this deck. I really only use it for my own readings. I don't really even use it for study because I have a bigger Radiant Rider Waite Smith deck, a pretty big one that I use for my coursework. This is just kind of, I don't know, this was the first one. This is the first deck I ever got. It smells so good because I kept it for a really long time in the incense drawer, so it smells like Nag Champa. And I don't know if the people were high who printed these cards or what, because none of the backs are like even remotely, like, it's not that they're just not, that one's almost centered, like it wanted to be centered, but it wasn't. It's like they didn't even try. You know, they're just like, oh, what the heck. Just shove them all through the machine. And however they come out, they come out. They didn't even try. There, I don't know if you can see it. Actually, this is a pretty dirty deck. I mean, it's literally dirty. It's very beat up and scratched and everything. Anyway, but it has sentimental value. And my #1 deck of last year is that this is my travel deck. This little bag I got from 10,000 Villages, which is a place here, a shop here in the United States. I guess it's a website and like a big box chain of shops. Excuse me, but everything is free trade and ethically produced and things like that. So I found this little one-of-a-kind bag that came from Nepal. And it's perfect for keeping my travel deck, which is my #1 deck of the year. The Pixie Smith deck, Centennial edition. It's been through the mill a little bit. You can see there's like dents in it. That's why I ended up putting it in a bag. And oh, this deck is so perfect. You know, I love it. I take it with me if I have to do a reading on the fly. If I'm just bored and I want to go through and study or use them as flashcards or do readings for myself or for other people or just shuffle because I'm like nervous or I'm waiting in traffic. I'm just going to shuffle. They shuffle like a dream. These are just gorgeous. This is one of my favorite colors. Kind of a duck egg blue, sort of. Anyway, this is my birth card, the Chariot. Yeah, perfect. So, there we go. Top 5 decks of 2016. Bye!